I can't believe it took until 2019 to get a conviction, despite the fact that people had been talking about this for some time. 10 years ago, you were called a conspiracy theorist. Today, it is historical record and fact. I wonder how many powerful elites in the United States and around the world started sweating the moment this story, this news broke. 6 p.m. DeSantis says, 6 p.m. today, DeSantis says, I'm signing this into law. There's got to be a couple of rich people who are wiping their brows with their handkerchief right now.
I mean, let's hope so, right? We'd love to see things like this come to fruition because we want accountability. I think that's what the biggest shift in the Jeffrey Epstein narrative is that people feel as though they can not only say out loud, he did these things and it was bad, it had a terrible impact on people, but also there are other people who are being kept out of the narrative and whose names are being shielded because of this, and that's not okay. I think before there was a time where it sort of felt like, well, there's nothing we can do about it, and I like the return to demanding accountability. This is
you asked me this as we're getting the story ready. You're like, why? How come we hear these things and like nothing happens?
Right.
And it's a good question. But my response was, and I'm like, we should have just done the show. I'm like, it was a great question.
The tapes on January 6th come out, or this is going to be released and everyone's going to hear the truth. They're going to get all this new information and then nothing happens. Or is something happening?
And so it's almost as, I wish we recorded it because I said, well, something is happening. But I think because of the internet, everybody expects everything to happen instantly. Like the news breaks and then you're like, okay, something should happen. When the founding fathers signed the Declaration of Independence, it was a year and a month after the war had already started. So Lexington and Concord is 1775. A year later, they're like, okay, I think we'll declare independence now after a year of fighting. It took 3 months for that declaration to make it to the crown. Then they get it. Then they have to schedule a meeting, parliament, figure out what's going on. I mean, it's like years for just this one concept to happen. We're seeing all the stuff related to Epstein now. What I think is going to happen is more and more people cannot deny the reality of this. So it shatters the establishment narrative. Every time we get news, these documents are going to come out. It's going to implicate somebody. It's going to be terrifying and damning for these nasty people. They're going to be shaking in their boots and we're better off for it. You're going to have a liberal aunt or uncle or grandfather or whatever, relative, neighbor. And when this stuff comes out and becomes undeniable, as it's already been doing, they won't be able to reject your ideas when you say, listen, look, 10 years ago, you come out and you're talking to your neighbor and you say, this Epstein guy's doing this stuff. And they go, oh, you're nuts.
Yeah.
Now they're like, well, of course. So that's the shift. Where does this go? You will eventually end up with politicians, as we are seeing now. Why didn't Florida release these documents in 2012? No one cared. The politicians thought, what do I gain from doing it? Some lobbyist comes in and says, I represent a very powerful individual who does not want those documents released. And they go, okay, fine. Now you've got internet fundraising. You've got people like Matt Gaetz and AOC, for as much as we'd criticize her, but they're not beholden to powerful lobbyists anymore. They're beholden to internet masses and their communities who will fund their campaigns with smaller donations. They can say F you to the big shots. So when that lobbyist comes in and says, I represent a guy who doesn't want these documents released, they go, oh, that sucks for you, I guess. Now that people are demanding it and funding it, they're and funding the change and funding the politicians who are going to make this change happen. The more we get information, the more we can convert regular people, get them on our side. You will start seeing politicians make bigger and bigger moves. So this story is it happening. The documents come out in 2018, 2019. Epstein gets locked up. He dies. Everyone says, what's going on? We want to know what happened. Now, finally, Florida saying we're going to release the documents from 2006.